Welcome to Academic English 4, Video 9, Discourse Markers. In this lesson, I'll explain what discourse markers are and why they're important for your speaking. Then I'll give you 16 examples of discourse markers. And finally, we'll finish with a quick 3-minute quiz. This lesson will take about 14 minutes. Let's begin with an explanation of discourse markers. Discourse markers are words or phrases that we use to start our speaking turns or to extend those turns. They help us keep speaking for a long time, and if you're learning to speak a new language, speaking for a long time is a good thing. There are two types of discourse markers. The first kind are like starting blocks. They help you start your turn. We often use these with other words, such as well. As an example, well, perhaps. And again, they also help you to speak longer. And the second type of discourse marker is like a bridge, which we can use in the middle of a turn to connect two thoughts or two ideas. Again, this helps extend your speaking. We often use these with words like so. Now that you know what discourse markers are, let's look at 16 examples of discourse markers, which will help you start your turns and generate more speaking. This is the list of the 16 discourse markers I will demonstrate for you during this lesson. And again, remember, we often pair these words with other words like well and so. Let's look at some examples of each of these 16 discourse markers. Number 1, essentially. We use this discourse marker to reword, emphasize, and even logically summarize information that we've already given. Example, he is the fastest runner, the best goal scorer, and the best defender. So essentially, he is the best player on the team. Example, he wouldn't eat any hamburger, he wouldn't eat any fries, and he wouldn't eat any pizza. So essentially, he ate nothing. Here's another example. Although she started her journey at 7:30 a.m., she did not reach her destination until 6 o'clock. So essentially, it took her all day to get there. Number 2, having said that. This means but or however. Example, the video and audio quality on the newest smartphones are excellent. But having said that, I still prefer to watch movies on a large TV. Another example, Canada is a fabulous place to live. It's safe, beautiful, and prosperous. Now, having said that, it's also extremely cold. Number 3, that said. This discourse marker also means but or however. Example, with Airbnb, you get larger rooms, you have a kitchen, and there's more privacy. That said, you won't have friendly staff who can help you 24/7. Here's another example. To do well on exams, students need to attend all their classes, do all their homework, and study hard. That said, it's also important that they get enough sleep. Number 4. We use the word fortunately to show a happy result, good ending. It's the opposite of unfortunately. For example, fortunately, no students were in the school during the explosion. Let's look at another example. She woke up late. Fortunately, she did not miss her bus. Number 5, thankfully. Again, this shows a happy result, good ending, and it's the opposite of sadly. Example, thankfully, nobody was seriously injured in the accident. Let's look at another example. She didn't see the bus. Thankfully, the bus driver saw her and stopped. Number 6. Well, for starters, this works well when we state the first of many or multiple reasons. Example. If asked why Martin failed the exam, one might respond with, well, for starters, he never went to any classes, and secondly, blah, 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 blah. Let's look at another example. Question. Why is Heijin so popular? Answer. Well, for starters, she is very beautiful. Number 7. Frankly. We use this to show our opinion, especially when we're trying to be honest or direct. Example. Frankly, I think she's a little too lazy. Another example. Well, frankly, I'm not too fond of these colors. Fond of, or to be fond of something, means to like. Number 8. Not surprisingly. This one shows a normal or expected result, logical next step or conclusion, and it's the opposite of surprisingly. Example. Martin was absent for most of the classes, so, not surprisingly, he failed the big exam. Here's another example. Not surprisingly, the victim, shot twice in the back, died from his wounds. And the third example. Rupert admitted to shooting the victim, so, not surprisingly, he was immediately arrested by the police. Number 9. If you ask me, this just shows your opinion. Example. If you ask me, the best way to get to the airport is to take a taxi. If you ask me, McDonald's makes the best French fries. Here's another example. If you ask me, the best way to lose weight is to go jogging every day. Number 10. To my knowledge. We use this when we want to inform our listener that our opinion or statement is only based on the information that we have, and that the information we have might not be fully complete, or it might be inaccurate or wrong in some way. Example. To my knowledge, Puerto Rico is not a country. Here's another example. To my knowledge, Starbucks is more expensive than McDonald's. Number 11. Definitely. You use this one to show that you strongly agree with an opinion or statement that you or someone else has made or will make. You're very, very confident that it's true. You're like 100% confident that it is true. Example. I definitely agree that they made the right decision. Here's another example. I definitely think you should try the chocolate glazed donut. Here's a third example. If you want to learn to play hockey, you should definitely come visit my house in Canada. I'll show you how to play. Number 12. As I mentioned earlier, this is just to repeat information or an opinion you have already stated or shared. Example. As I mentioned earlier, Canada is a fabulous place to live. Another example. As I mentioned earlier, the best way to lose weight is to go jogging every day. Number 13. In all likelihood. This means there's a very strong possibility that a fact or opinion is true. Example. In all likelihood, the package will arrive before Friday. Example. In all likelihood, we'll spend the weekend in Las Vegas. Here's a third example. In all likelihood, someone will score soon. The goal is empty. Number 14. Obviously. This one helps explain what the speaker believes to be a natural or expected consequence. Example: obviously, she would have to get her teacher's license before she could apply for the teaching job. Example: the thug pointed a gun at Yusuf's head, so obviously Yusuf handed over all of his money. What is a thug, you ask? A thug is like a gangster or a criminal who uses physical force to get what he wants. Another example: these boys play basketball every day, so obviously they love playing it. Number 15. To the best of my knowledge. You want to inform your audience or your listener that your opinion or statement is only based on the information you have, which could be inaccurate or insufficient. Example: to the best of my knowledge, the accident occurred at 3 a.m. Here's another example: to the best of my knowledge, Finland still has not joined NATO. Number 16. Perhaps. You use this when you believe there's a possibility, often a strong possibility, that your opinion or statement is true, or your suggestion is a good one. Example: perhaps all students should have a choice, online classes or face-to-face classes. Example: perhaps you should visit me in Edmonton. It's a winter wonderland. I hope those 16 examples helped you. Before we finish this lesson, let's have a very quick 3-minute quiz. For each of these quiz questions, I'll give you 6 or 7 seconds to think before I give you the answer. Let's get started. Number 1. If you ask me, the best way to get rich is to start my own business. Number 2. Why do I love visiting the Philippines? Well, for starters, their beaches are fantastic. Number 3. Perhaps you should visit my hometown, Edmonton. Number 4. Obviously, she loves chocolate. Number 5. If you ask me, the best way to stay healthy is to eat plenty of fruit. Number 6. You definitely have to meet Malcolm. He's a great guy. Number 7. Thankfully, nobody was injured in the fire. Number 8. Perhaps we should meet at Subway. Number 9. As I mentioned earlier, the best way to stay healthy is to eat plenty of fruit. Number 10. Gerald shows many pictures of hockey, so in all likelihood, he loves hockey. That's the end of this lesson. Should you have any questions, please contact me at the email address below.